I just found out about it yesterday or today. It's an organization called FightTheNewDrug.org. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, absolutely.
No.
What is the new drug? Maybe I like the new drug.
Yeah, what is it?
Maybe I want the new drug.
I
What's the new drug?
think you're both fans of it.
Wait. Is it porn? Please tell me it's porn.
Bingo.
Yes!
Ding, 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 ding.
Okay.
I mean, it's not fentanyl,
I
clearly.
am an avid user. Have been for a while now. Will never go back.
So let me fill you in, Megan, because I'm just getting up to speed with this group as well. This is a group that started about 9 years ago, who claims to be a non-religious, anti-porn group that defines itself as pro-healthy sex and anti-pornography, whose mission it is to raise awareness on its findings and spread an anti-porn message. But it was founded, headed up, and is run by Mormons.
Oh, this is getting
Of course,
better.
they say has nothing to do with it.
Oh, this is getting so much better. Really?
So it's amazing the content they have put up. They have some really, really savvy tech people, social media people, video content creators. They have an amazing YouTube channel with a ton of really highly produced video content. And in
Those guys organize.
Really organized, yeah. And here's the fun part. They have gone on to promote the fact that they say that porn is equal to being addicted to drugs. And they recently, well, not recently, I guess it was 2015, somehow they got the money to put up 100 billboards, I think mostly around the San Francisco Bay Area, with a message that simply says, listen to this, porn kills love, fight for love. Now, shortly after,
Strong
and listen,
disagree.
this is as of 2014, so this was a while ago, but as of 2014, they claim over 1 million followers on Facebook, more than 21,000 on Twitter, and over 60,000 on Instagram. And again, this is 4 years ago, so it could be double that. Who knows? But what happened after they started getting a lot of press, there was a little bit of a backlash. Several therapists, actually 4 certified sex therapists, and I believe they were all in the Salt Lake City area, got together and wrote into the Salt Lake City Tribune, who allowed them to publish an op-ed piece that was titled, "Utah Students Need Real Sex, Not Fight the New Drug." And they expressed concern over the presentation of the material that was being presented by this organization, and get this, in public schools without soliciting approval of the school board or parents.
Well, I'm looking here on their website, and it says that they are not a religious group. Are you saying that they're lying?
Yeah. So,
why would they lie?
The
Why?
Mormon Church would lie about something. Sorry.
Or just show that like political and media savvy in order to, get their message out without it being confronted by people who are anti-Mormon. I mean, that particular organization is excellent about that. If we're going to reference Darrell Ray to borrow his parlance and his verbiage, the Mormon Church is perhaps the very best at being able to do these sort of false flags and have these virus vectors to insert the God virus into things without it necessarily being automatically rejected and fought off against. I think it's a fascinating case study, but you're right. This is a battle that's been going on for years. I mean, you quoted back to 2014. I know that Dr. David Lay has been writing about this since at least 2012, specifically in Salt Lake City. The Myth of Sex Addiction, and perhaps my favorite titled book of all time, Porn for Dicks, A Gentleman's Guide to Ethical Viewing.
Nice.
He confronts these issues really head on. But
No pun intended.
This has been a way of, I guess, rattling the saber for the Mormon Church for a long time. You know, you create this sense of shame by demonizing something that everybody's doing, and by making it shameful, you then give people a need for catharsis. And where they find that catharsis, they find it in the Mormon Church. And so it's a way of building their brand by creating an enemy.
They're basically picking up where the Catholic Church left off.
In a lot of ways, absolutely. It's a somewhat more modern take. It's a little bit more savvy
A little closer
than the
to
modern
home.
Catholic Church is.
Yeah, and of course, when this op-ed came out from these 4 therapists, they then had their op-ed response saying Utah students need real sex and fight the new drug, saying that those therapists had, quote, misrepresented their work.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that op-ed piece came out, there was a third op-ed piece that was a follow-up to the Fight the New Drug piece that was contributed or presented by, I'm looking here, it looks to be at least 8 or 9 sex therapists and PhDs, all of whom challenged the messaging that Fight the New Drug was saying, stating that they were really concerned about the, quote, supposed neuroscientific backing of a sex education program that is really not based on anything scientific.
Yeah, that's the reality. Anytime these debates come up in a public square, when there's an op-ed here and then there's a rebuttal and then back and forth,
right?
The science is overwhelming, and so it's a question of, are you interested in science or not? Because there's not a lot of room for a equal back and forth debate if we're actually looking at things like neurology, at outcome research, at basic well-being.
Can't we just look at the data?
Yeah.
Well, what concerns me about what you just said. I don't know if you have checked out their website, and
I'm on their website right now.
He's got it pulled
okay,
up.
Well,
oh my gosh! You have these facts and stuff, but when I look at these brightly, giant, smiling, dead-eyed people in their mid-20s, I mean, really,
flip it in front of the camera.
Just no, it'll. But oh my
well,
goodness!
Here's my concern, and
Did you read the pledge? Did you read the pledge?
It relates to what was just said about when you look at the science. Mm-hmm. They have somehow gotten videotaped interviews with at least a half dozen, maybe 8 or 10, quote, scientific therapist experts. I'd have to look at it again to be sure, but these are people who are, quote, experts in their field, and they have been willing to go in front of a camera, basically agreeing with the message behind this organization. And that's what concerns me, because you can make fun of, as much as you want, of Mormons and what they're coming from, but when they get people like they've gotten to go on camera and be on their website, it can be very confusing for anyone who is trying to find the truth.
Yeah.
And that's what concerns me.
Yeah, I mean, that's long since been a strong Mormon tactic, and also the Church of Scientology in particular, burying good information by just owning the first 35 Google results, by kind of overwhelming everybody with almost this like brute force mass attack of misinformation and bullshit.
Well, I would love to see a public debate to get some of these PhDs who have challenged their thinking and responded to them in these op-ed pieces. I mean, that would be really an interesting dialogue, because this Fight the New Drug organization says they're just trying to create more discussion around the subject. So let's have a discussion. Let's have some public debates and get their, quote, so-called experts, and have them go against some of these real experts, and let the viewers make their own decision.
Yeah, the unfortunate reality is that those types of conversations are few and far between, and they always come across as ineffective when they happen because they are always being viewed and sponsored and taken part in by folks who have rapidly made their minds up. So while I would love this idea of like a free marketplace of information where people are able to communicate and have these sorts of debates, I'm just not convinced that those arguments are being heard in any kind of objective or reasonable way. I'd like to believe in that world, but I'm not so convinced that we live in it.
I don't know. I feel like we should be taking the shotgun approach because while there are groups that are continuing to fight to look like they have legitimacy, it can take 100 different methods to get to 100 different people, and so I don't know. Maybe we should push for it. Maybe we should fight for more sex debates. I think if you put the word sex debate, like I'm
our
pretty sure
email
people will
is
show
right
up.
there on the banner.
Sex
debate
at,
us.
Yeah, sex at
Hey.
secular sexuality.
My background is
Sorry,
Madison
sex
Avenue.
at atheist-community.
My background is Madison Avenue advertising. I worked in advertising in New York for 30 years. So I'll give you a little secret. Sex sells.
Yep,
Let's do it.
So
it does.
There's a market for it.
I've been there. I know.
And this would be no different than having a debate between a secular person and a Christian. Let's talk about it. Let's hear what they both have to say and let the audience decide. So I think that would really be a healthy way to allow people to hear both points of view and come to their own conclusions.
I think we generally agree.
Yeah, and we're happy to bring it on. I mean, we're only half joking. I earnestly would like to have that type of intentional, meaningful, well-organized conversation with anybody who might be in our viewing audience who thinks that we're all full of shit. Obviously, we're all homers here, and so if you're coming onto our show, that's a little bit of the context, but we would love to have a polite and civil and meaningful conversation with anybody who feels like the neurology, the outcome data research, like all of those things point towards pornography being harmful. I would say that overwhelmingly that's not the case, but let's have that conversation.
Well, the head guy of the organization is a guy named Clay Olson. So if you were to pick anyone to be a guest on your show and talk about it, I think he would be the guy. And my sense is that he would welcome the exposure. And I think that would be a pretty interesting conversation to listen to if you were to extend an invite.
I agree. Christy, we have a conversation to have.
Yeah, let's see what we can make happen.
Well, thank you so much for your call, John.